health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to the Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a wife, a busy mom of 3, and the founder of the cutting edge and award-winning supplement brand Accelerated Health Products. This podcast is more than just a source of information. It's a community for you and for those looking to optimize their health. I release new episodes every Monday and Tuesday live and a bonus one on Thursdays. So remember to subscribe and add to your playlist so you never miss a show. And join my free health group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. I answer your questions and I post articles and videos. And you just are on a journey day after day moving forward. The details can be found on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. My goal, I need your help, is to reach everyone who needs me with my message of healing. So please help me by sharing this podcast and others with a few of your friends. And together we can empower each other on our journey to optimal health. Today is going to apply to you. If you're like any other American, we have Vinny Crispino, and we are talking about healing pain. Do you have pain? I'm sure you do. How much Advil are you taking? How many pain medications are you on? Well, Vinny was an 8-time All-American D1 athlete with over 33 Colorado State swimming records, not just one. 33. I didn't even know that was possible before he broke his back during a surfing accident. Of course, it wasn't swimming. It was doing something else, which is usually the case. And being bedridden from pain and feeling defeated, he discovered the power of movement therapy and corrective exercise and has committed his life to supporting others. Just like me, Pain to Purpose story. Welcome, Vinny. How are you today?
I'm amazing. That was a great introduction.
Well, you know, this is something you don't know about me is you being an athlete. I grew up, I consider myself still an athlete because I move my body and I do workout every day. And I was a rower. I played volleyball in high school. I have 3 kids that row crew. And do you think we don't talk about pain management? I laughed at my son. He came out of the womb doing the splits. He was just naturally flexible. He'd sit there playing in the sandbox with his legs out like this. But he's so tight now because of the muscles and the daily life and the working out and all of the stuff. And they're still young. And here I am at 48. I was doing yoga before the pandemic, stopped it because of the pandemic, like most people. And I literally just got back into it last week. And the amount of pain relief just from incorporating that and focusing on the stretching and the movement has made a huge difference. So super excited to talk about this topic because researchers are saying that most people are living with chronic pain now. You know, we talk about insulin resistance and diabetes and heart disease, but chronic pain is so debilitating to life. And it's so nice to know that you've got solutions that are natural, away from medication. So let's get into it. Why don't we start with your story?
Yeah. So, I broke my back in a surfing accident. And I think from there, my story is a lot like most people, which is you just wake up not feeling good and your body dictates what kind of day you're going to have and how you're going to connect with people. And if you're going to be if you're going to be able to work with meaning and purpose today, or if you're going to begrudgingly just survive the day. I mean, that was my entire 20s as I was faced with this very, very sharp drop from being an elite athletic performer to a guy who could barely stand up and walk around for more than a few minutes without looking for where's the closest chair or couch that I can sit on, because movement was miserable. And this is where my journey starts. And I think a lot of people find themselves in the same spot, which is I hurt, so I go see the experts. It's chiro, PT, yoga, acupuncture, massage, some of the self-proclaimed gurus online. I mean, we just throw the kitchen sinks at our body. And unfortunately, a lot of us learn that those things don't really work in the way that we want them to work. And we're kind of ultimately left with this, I don't know what to do. I'm burned out. I still don't feel good. I still don't know how to take care of my body. I've spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars trying to figure this problem out. And this is where I start to enter the picture in people's lives, which is showing them how to build really simple, helpful movement practices at home that they can rely on to just take care. We're talking about self-care,
Right.
body movement, maintenance 101 stuff here.
And you said a very key word there is practice. It's not just a one and done thing. It's something that
Mhm.
you have to commit to on a daily basis. It's just like diet. It's just like your workouts. We're talking about movement, but you don't just work out once. It was funny. I was talking to my mom about a certain individual, and I said, "Yeah, on her blood test, her heart was showing that it doesn't do a lot of exercise." And she goes, well, there was a period of time that she ran. And I go, well, it's
Mhm.
not just that period of time in your life, it's the constant, and you've got to stay on top of it for all of these healthy habits, because they build on each other or they go backwards. And we do spend all this money on these practitioners wanting them to fix us, and we don't take ownership. That's something that a lot of people are very guilty of. And you also talked about the mindset, the body mind connection, where I really want to dive into that because pain can depress you. You're not getting the dopamine release that you were getting winning your gold medals in swimming. Now we're just trying to reach for that chair and we can't move. So
Yeah.
there's this mental depression that can set in that you forcefully have to overcome. And any mental degradation is going to cause stress, which is going to cause more pain. Can you dive into a little more of that combination?
Yeah. So I think it really all starts with two things, and both of these things concurrently fuel the problem. The first thing is how pain is packaged, which is that it's bad, it's wrong, and the pain signal is the problem. Let's kill the messenger. Let's fight it with drugs, and your body's not working, and pain is the alarm bell and something's wrong, so there's fear. The pain itself is packaged in a way that either directly or indirectly has us literally waging war on our body.
Mhm.
We resist what we feel. We attack our nervous system. We introduce, these feelings that we feel are probably the things that also prevent us from doing the stuff that we love, whether it's sports, whether it's activities or hobbies, playing with kids, family members, or being intimate with partners. When you don't feel good and it prevents you from doing things, you start to turn on your own nervous system and the things that you're feeling. So, all of these things, how pain is packaged and sold, that it is the problem, and our relationship with pain, both simultaneously fuel this really vicious cycle mentally and emotionally that renders us almost incapable of dealing with it physically, right? Most people don't have the framework on how to approach pain, nor do they have the coping mechanisms. And I'm speaking from a guy not learning about this stuff from textbooks. I lived it. I had no mental training and coping mechanisms. I thought for the longest time, what made me successful as a young man and an athlete, go big or go home. Let's push through it, mind over matter. I thought that was the answer to everything in business, relationships, love, life, physicality, all of it. The thing is when your body doesn't really work that well, when you push it hard, it's going to push back 10 out of 10 times. And it wasn't until I really had to reassess, oh, what I'm doing, which is fighting my own body, is not working because we're both losing. I'm
Mm.
losing and my body is losing. And this is the in between stuff. This was the things that, and I don't blame them. It's what the PTs and the doctors and the chiros weren't talking about because it's not their field of study. But nobody was sitting me down and saying, hey, what is your relationship with this sensation? And what does that have to do with why you're sabotaging your rehabilitative process? Why is it, what is your relationship with pain that has to do with you reaching for painkillers and getting all these tattoos? And, the story goes on and on and on. Without the scaffolding and the framework, we're just left to our own devices, which many of us is just not really productive means or an outcome, if that makes sense.
Right. And so you're saying that pain is not your enemy. So how do you change that relationship so that it can work for you?
It's very easy to say that when you're not in pain.
Mhm.
It's very easy when you're on the outside of it to then say, oh, let's befriend it. Two things have to happen simultaneously. Number one, we have to relax the nervous system. I can't help you change your relationship with pain if you're going through a severe flare up, a blaring nerve pain episode. It's like setting somebody up for failure, right? We have to calm down the nervous system, down regulate it, relax all these overactive nerves, which is, and I don't say this to minimize people's experience with their body. For many people, it's actually quite simple. It could be putting them in a position like lying on your back with your legs over a chair, a position of extremely high support where your nerves and muscles don't have to work. And when there's no work, things can start calming down. You can go from this sympathetic state, this fight, flight, freeze, survival mode, back into this parasympathetic state, which is lower blood pressure, lower heart rate. Things are starting to calm down. Your breathing calms down. So we have to, number one, relax the signal a little bit. And simultaneously, number two, work on how you relate to that sensation in the first place. What happens? What's the inner dialogue? What are the thoughts? How do you as a human being respond when pain shows up? Because it is just a sensation. Our body can't sit down and have a meaningful conversation like you and I are having. Our body only knows how to communicate through chemicals and through electrical signals. It's what our psyche does. It's how we attach meaning to those signals. Pain is bad. This is wrong. How we attach memories and emotions and irritability and anger and depression. It's everything we bring to the sensation that is only fueling it and making it stick around a hell of a lot longer than it needs to be. Does that make sense?
It does. And being a mom of three, and you have not had this experience, but going through labor and delivery, very painful, but there's a purpose. And so there's a different mindset about it. It's good pain. And so you can feel good about it. And it's not like when you break a leg and you flip out because you think about the consequences of having a broken leg. So that relationship is much different. You touched on pain medication, and yes, of course there's side effects, and we're going to get into all of that because I can talk about how that will destroy your liver and cause leaky gut and cause the pain to get worse and inflammation to get worse. But is it beneficial for someone to take a pain medication to get them out of pain so they're relaxing that sympathetic system, the nervous system?
Here's what I found. Though there are, look, I'm going to first speak as a man who's lived through a broken back. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes when you're at that 10 out of 10 excruciating pain, sometimes it can take the edge off. If you're in that situation where it is an absolute necessity, like sometimes my life was like, then it has to be for more than just taking the edge off. We have to get something out of it more than just relaxing the signal. For example, me taking pain medication and then basically just getting high to go watch a movie and lay on my couch, what does that do for us actually changing the root cause of this problem? As opposed to if I absolutely needed it, taking it, so then I could then bring myself to do a little bit of the rehabilitative work. If it takes the edge off enough for me to get my body moving a little bit, and I can do so with control and responsibility, right? I'm not just numbing out so I can go push my body in the gym, but I'm taking that edge off so I can go produce meaningful changes, physiologically speaking, from a neuromuscular system. then maybe it's in the realm of being helpful, but it's got a very short window of being helpful because the side effects will typically outweigh the what is it? The cure is almost worse than the disease. Is that what the saying is?
Right.
With
Right.
pain, it's a very, very slippery slope. And this is where it comes back down to mindset. Why am I taking it? Am I taking it to just numb myself? Am I taking it because I'm out of hope? Or am I taking it so I can go do a thing that is going to pull me out of this hole that I find myself in? We have to be very intentional with why and when we would do that. And I wish I had that intention because I was just given a very large pain pill prescription in my early 20s. And having a highly addictive personality, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to guess what happened. I became addicted quick. So we have to have intention, scaffolding, and a framework if we are even going to go down that road.
It's really scary. I have a friend that just went through surgery, and in the hospital, they gave her fentanyl for the pain. And I'm thinking, wait a second, isn't that the drug that we're so scared of that's coming across the border? But they
Yeah.
hand it out like candy. And when I was pregnant with my second child at 23 weeks, I went in, and this was part of my gut issues. I had intestinal spasms that I thought were labor. They gave me Percocet, a narcotic.
Mm.
And here I am carrying a baby. And back then I didn't know any better, and I was in a lot of pain. So I can also tell you that my mom fell off a horse last August. She's 80 years old, riding horses, super active, no health issues whatsoever, broken pelvis, put on pain medication. Fast forward to now, she's not moving because of her injury, and she's been on medication. Her liver backs up, her liver enzymes go through the roof. They put her on a steroid for her liver. And oh, by the way, your blood pressure's going up. And this is why, after the age of 65, especially, your risk of mortality within a year of an injury has skyrocketed. I can't remember the statistic, but you don't want to go down that path without something like what you offer to bridge it or to accompany it to get you off the medication quickly and reverse the damage. I'm sure you see a lot of that as well.
Hmm. Yeah, and really the big picture here and the thing people need to be armed and equipped with is your body is designed, it's wired to feel pain. That's a natural sensation. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. So if your body's mechanism is being triggered to create pain and get your attention and alert you that something is going on here that needs your full attention, that's the point of why pain exists in the body, is for communication. And we are now attacking that signal and numbing it. Weird things tend to happen. Not just the side effects physiologically speaking, but the problem just doesn't get better. We just learn to avoid it, numb it, suppress it, escape it, avoid it. Whatever we do, we're again saying, hey, take these pills to fix your problem. Again, assuming that the pain is the problem. It's just the messenger. And when we make the messenger the fall guy, the bad guy for our treatment, so begins this loop of never ending chasing and chasing and chasing. And we never really get to the real heart of things for many people.
Yeah, and when you're in pain, then what are you not doing? Just like with my mom, stopped working out, right? And then
Yeah.
you've got the arthritis that's then going to cause probably osteoporosis because you're not doing impact movements to strengthen your bones. And oh, by the way, you're sitting on the couch depressed and probably eating more processed foods and junk than you would normally do. So it's this lifestyle, the wheels come off. And it's not just that one thing. It's not just the pain. So what are the common mistakes that most people make when trying to use movement for pain relief?
Intensity is probably the biggest mistake. The body that has the problem, people will just add challenge to it. So I want you to think about, if there's pain, there's an issue. Something's not working the way it should, or it's designed to do here. So if that's your baseline, most people will just immediately look for exercises, strength, stretching, mobility, like let's go activate the nervous system to go make a change. And because the worse people feel, so the higher that pain signal is, the more intense of a thing they're looking for, because they equate intensity to efficacy. One of the primary principles that I use to help people in pain is we first have to relax the problem. If you've got a hip imbalance, if you've got asymmetrical pain, one side of your body is in more pain than the other side, chances are the body's out of balance. So if I just go give you PT and traditional rehab work, you are going to do that work, even if the exercise is quote unquote good, you're doing that work with that problem. Remember, the problem is with the neuromuscular system. Nerves and muscles are no longer communicating well together. So we're going to add more stress to that. Most people are going to find no wonder why exercise hurts. No wonder why it takes them forever to recover. No wonder why they loathe movement, because they've learned the more they move, the worse they feel. More movement does not equal better movement. Better movement equals better movement. So step one in resolving this issue is we have to work with the neuromuscular system as it is and tame that problem. We have to calm it down. And you can do that with basic, simple, gentle movements that just get some parts of the body moving again. And then we slowly rebuild intensity from there. Most people just want to get straight to the complicated, the tricky, the high level stuff when they can't even control their body in a basic way. So step one is let's get the basics of movement before we even bridge into the more dynamic stuff. And that is corrective exercise 101. In almost any corrective exercise protocol or curriculum, step one is dealing with the nervous system. Well, most people just want to get moving. And that's one of the biggest challenges or the biggest mistakes that people make.
It's just like with diet, where if you're in a stress state in your body, life is stressful, and you try to intermittent fast or you try to run a marathon, it's going to backfire, right?
Yeah.
Because your body, your nervous system can only take so much. It will go into survival mode to protect you. So we we want to touch on inflammation. And I can say that if you're in pain, number one, get rid of the inflammatory foods you're eating, because that's only
Mhm.
going to make things worse. And that would be the processed foods, pork, packaged foods, even coffee is high histamine. So be careful with that. I love my coffee. I'm not saying don't drink it, but just something to think about. Sodas, all of that acidity will impact your inflammation in the body. Besides diet, how do you recommend people reduce that inflammation that is making the pain worse?
Your movement patterns are either going to help you heal, or your movement patterns are going to keep re-triggering inflammation. Easy way to put this. If you cut your skin, it heals. If you break a bone, it heals. But if you keep breaking that bone every day, you are creating damage faster than your body's ability to heal it. With our movement patterns, when we have impaired, faulty, or irregular motion, an example might be, let me make this real for you. If somebody has hip pain because one hip doesn't move that well, so you shift weight into the hip that kind of does move well. And that's happening every step. It's happening every time you sit, stand, go upstairs, bend forward, squat, clean, whatever you're doing. So if you have this very faulty, asymmetrical movement pattern that's stressing some areas of your soft tissue, like one hip more than the other, if that's what's triggering and perpetuating inflammation, we have to stop creating damage faster than our body's ability to heal that. And again, the answer comes back down to restoring basic movement. If you've got the diet, if you've got the nutrition side of things covered, if you're sleeping well, if you're drinking water, we can do all of those things. Yet, if we're again having these faulty movement patterns where every time we're moving, we're creating these really low grade inflammatory responses because we're excessively stressing the soft tissue, the inflammation's not really going to change in meaningful ways because we just keep poking this angry bear all day long, every step with all of our movements. So get on top of the diet. Let's really start to move towards low inflammatory foods, and let's show our body how to move in easier, more efficient ways again. And if we can attack inflammation from a nutritional, sleep, hydration, and movement standpoint, we're covering a heck of a lot of bases.
So you talk about the fact that, yeah, you don't want to push yourself with exercise, but there's a place for high energy versus the relaxed movements. Can you talk about how someone would balance those two to continue to move forward without aggravating the pain?
Yeah. So there is think about movement, think about intensity on a spectrum. On one end of that spectrum, we've got high intensity. Call it a vigorous exercise, a workout, group fitness class. On the other end of the spectrum, we have like literally no movement, static, laying on your back, legs over a couch or a chair, a position that is idle, complete full rest. We are at any given points needing different doses of intensity. Some days we need the high vigorous exercise. Some days we need to just not move at all. The body's in a constant state of fluctuation. What is needed are tools to give your body what it needs based on the intensity of where we're at. Where most people are lacking is learning how to use intensity as a tool. So think of it like this. A race car driver never goes around a track in just one gear. They go around a track skillfully by shifting in and out of gears. Well, we need to shift in and out of gears with intensity. We can't go hard, hard, hard every day, all day. A lot of us have probably tried that. And where does that leave us? Conversely, we also can't just let's be calm and super relaxing and let's just always enter our parasympathetic nervous system. Then that's a body without strength and resiliency and stability and endurance. We have to find a combination of both. And I'll talk kind of women here first, hormonally, because hormones, depending on the cycle, that changes a lot. Hormonally, it's really important to learn at what point in my cycle am I in to be able to give my body the intensity that I need. That's key. And again, most people are only knowing how to throw group fitness classes or only knowing how to stretch or relax.
Yeah.
I could be very vague and say 1-to-1 ratio is good, but it's not good for everybody. Some people need a little bit more intensity. Some people are hanging out too much on the intensity realm, and we need to move a little bit more towards a static, more towards idle, getting the body to relax. This is why it is a life work. This is why movement is a lifelong process, because you have to get to the point of being able to intimately check in with your body. What do I need today? And this is where a lot of programs go wrong, because programs are scheduled out. Your next 4 weeks are laid out, but that's a rigid program. And you are a very fluid, dynamic, hormonally ever shifting human being. No wonder why we have a hard time sticking to rigid programs. They don't feel right. They don't give us what we need. And so it ultimately comes down to we need both. We probably need a good balance of both, but it just depends on where you're actually at on that spectrum today and on average.
I love that you brought up the female cycle, because I've talked to my daughters about the fact that, oh, when your cycle comes, these are the optimal days to see if you can PR on your rowing, on the rowing machine or whatever, what have you. And I think that every male coach needs to learn about the female cycle and the hormones and when people are the most resilient versus not, because it is a thing. And men might have their cycle in a different way. People talk about that a little bit, but it's so much more intricate for women. And I find myself, I get ready for my workout. I feel how my body feels. I see how my sleep was, and I listen to my body. Some days it's just a walk with the dogs. Some days it's lifting really heavy weights. And some days it's HIIT training on the rowing machine. And the combination is what confuses the body, gives it the results, but then also helps it restore. And I always laugh when my Aura ring tells me, yeah, it's time to relax today because I didn't have a great night of sleep and the inflammation is up. The body is just overstressed. And that stress, that chronic stress, is just wreaking havoc on your brain and your body. And of course, making the pain worse. So you talk about the algorithm of pain healing.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, and I think, last thing to touch on the female body, and this is something that we all have to get very clear on. Most exercise physiological studies and most scientific studies are not done on women.
Right.
And they weren't done on women really until starting in 1990. So we have maybe 2.5 decades of partial information on how medications and drugs and exercise science affects women. And the studies that are even done on women, where is it disclosed? Where in their monthly cycle are they? That has a massive impact on the outcomes of things. And so I notice the majority of my clients are women because a lot of the information does not actually bode well that pertains to their specific body. And it doesn't give them nuance and variations in how they can approach their body. And same thing for men too, who hormones are unstable, or they're going up and down, or they fluctuate. So this is where my work comes in, because it comes back down to an if-then model, which is an algorithm. If this happens, then this happens. Most people don't have that structure to be able to check in with themselves. They don't know what their body needs. More, less, more intensity? Do I push it harder? We don't know, because we don't have a solid foundation to come back to test things. So one of my protocols is to give people a structure so they can understand their body. And it's actually quite simple. It's a couple simple movement assessments, which could be as simple as standing. It could be as simple as bending forward to touch your toes, and squatting and rotating. These basic, simple movement patterns will tell you a lot about what's going on in your body now. And if you find, after giving yourself a lot of intensity, those movement patterns get worse, guess what we need? Not more intensity. You're literally training your body to move worse. We need more of the opposite. We need to do the gentle restorative work. If the gentle restorative work is working, then we can start to scale up intensity. So it's this constant, how can I push my body without completely compromising motion? And once motion, your bend forward and squat feels a little stiffer and tighter, that is your body's physiology saying, hey, we're kind of moving towards this improper movement stage. Let's go back to the basics. And we do that for a day or two, and then we scale back up. So it's teaching people a non-linear way to approach fitness, because our bodies are non-linear. They're in a constant state of dynamic fluctuation and change.
And I don't know about you, Vinny, but being a D1 athlete back before you were injured, you were probably goal oriented, like A to B is the path to go. And it's a straight line. And that's how I was as well. And then life happens and you learn that there's a lot of curves in the path, and some forward movement, backward movement, side to side. And you've got to kind of go with the flow and not fight the patterns to move forward. So I love that. And you guys, you will be mesmerized, I think is the word, when you go to your social media, the Pain Academy. because the movements are so fun to watch, and it's very relaxing. I mean, I'm eating it up. So I love that. So tell us a little bit more about the Pain Academy and how it works.
Yeah, so this is the program that I created for this is what I needed when I was going through the peak of my injury, which is guidance daily. It is a year-long program that guides you every single day what to do. So you show up, it's online, you log in, and I'll play some simple movement exercises for you. And based on how those feel, I might ask you a question on, hey, do you feel better, worse, or the same? Or I might ask you a question about your foot or your knee or your hip. Like you as a human being, how did you experience this routine? And you're going to give the system feedback. And each day you come to this and you give it feedback, we start to learn what helps you move better and feel better and what doesn't help you, maybe what challenges you too much. So, based on your participation in your body, I then structure what works best for you. And I help put the guide rails, I help put the training wheels on how you can even approach a long term sustainable movement practice. We've been online now for 8 years. I think we're on our sixth or seventh version of this thing. We've had over 10,000 people go through this program, and it has been incredible watching these stories of people regain control. I mean, putting themselves back in the driver's seat of restoring their ability to move, relaxing muscle imbalances, and using this really gentle, holistic way to start taking care of their body and get out of pain. It's really cool.
That's amazing. I mean, the testimonials are what fuel my soul, and I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yeah.
Just helping others to get through something that you have gone through. I want to quickly switch to supplementation and diet. And if anyone's listened to me before, you know that I've talked a lot about those healthy foods that could be inflammatory, causing chronic disease, causing hypothyroidism, brain fog, all of this stuff. Well, it's also going to cause inflammation, which is only going to exacerbate your pain. And those are the oxalates and even the sulfur vegetables, the cabbage, the kale, the broccoli. And this is not because of the vegetables' fault. It's because of the world of GMOs and glyphosate tripping up our detox pathways. To get more into that, you can go to the website, SaraBantaHealth.com, and learn more about the 5 disruptors. So the oxalates, the sulfur, the wrong fats in the body, very inflammatory, and the amyloid proteins. So the wrong proteins could be something that could be tripping up some inflammation in your body. And just my top 2 supplements to help with pain is the acceleradine iodine. Iodine is extremely anti-inflammatory. It induces apoptosis. What does that mean? It means it destroys those damaged cells. So in an injury, it's going to increase the wound healing. It helps with the curing, not curing those, but the cells that are causing the chronic pain. It induces DNA repair, helps at the point of chronic pain, cleanses the liver so the liver can do its job. And a lot of the toxins that we're being bombarded with are causing acidity and inflammation that are triggering or making the pain worse. And it also helps with your thyroid, right? And the thyroid is the master endocrine gland. A lot of pain is associated with hypothyroidism, and a lot of people are suffering from that as well. You can use castor oil, the accelerated scalar castor oil, with the acceleradine iodine as a pact to put on an injury, especially initially, to help reduce the inflammation. It's magic. I also use it for a liver, over my liver during my liver cleanses. You can also put it on your face for a face mask, but that is something that I use as well for pain. But it's really important to be hydrating, just like Vinny mentioned, and using salt. You can use the accelerated ancient salt that's full of all 62 minerals and those electrolytes that are really important to plump up the blood, to get the toxins out and to get the nutrients in that are going to help the healing process. So Vinny, are there any supplements that you recommend to your clients?
You know, I don't, not because there aren't ones that can be very beneficial and helpful. I find myself really focusing on the movement aspect of things. Anytime I try to go down the nutritional road, and I'm sure given where you're at, you see so much like conflicting news and information and studies. And so because the supplementation and the nutrition hasn't been as much of a purpose and a passion on mine, I'll usually stick to the exercise physiology end of things. And what I'm pretty certain on is how those impact the body, how those impact the system. The nutrition supplements, I usually defer people outwards. And, whenever I host weekly group coaching calls, people ask about nutrition sciences and what they should eat. I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, I'm not sure. Let's get a registered dietitian, or let's get somebody who really understands this information on a much deeper level. So, I gotta admit my weaknesses when they're here, which is I don't know.
Well, you need to send them my way and
Yeah. Well, now I've got somebody else to send to. So great.
So I wanna touch again a little bit more on the mindset part, because of the program, you're giving people a step-by-step way to move forward. And I remember in the beginning of my mom's journey, when she first got off, fell off her horse and was on the pain medication, I said, Mom, I'm going to print out a checklist of things for you to do on a daily basis. And it was, call or text all 12 of your grandchildren, read your Bible, take this supplement, do your little exercises. And it wasn't necessarily to get all of those things done, but to have a check mark and that feeling of accomplishment to move you forward and to help with that dopamine response, so that you don't get into this depressed, stuck, stagnant mindset. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up. So we've had many meetings about this internally with my tech team, how important it is for somebody to be able to click complete button on a daily basis
Yes.
and watch a progress bar go from 10% to 12%. When you don't feel good, it feels like a never ending loop. And when you can give somebody some way to actionably track, I did an accomplishment, I did a thing for myself, and you start closing the gap between where you are at the start of the program versus the end, it is amazing. And it's really helpful mentally and emotionally to do this. Imagine how far you'd walk if I told you to meet me 5 miles east of here. If you didn't have a GPS, you had no idea where east was, and you had no way of knowing that you were headed in the right direction or tracking how much further you had. Laying down a map and a structure for somebody is critical to provide that structure in the early stages of stopping and disrupting this cycle of doom that a lot of people face. So not only providing structure is that really important, but I also give people a 31-day guided meditation course. I need to walk you through exactly how to change your relationship with all of the things that you're feeling that are coming at you on a daily basis. And those two things have been really helpful.
I love that. The meditation and really taking time to just sit. And
Hmm.
in this life where it is rewarded to be too busy and to have our schedules over, having us overworked, with my three kids, two of them are off in college. One of them is an athlete. She rows for USC. And when she came home, because at school, she has no time. She's got 2 practices a day, her classes, studying, all of that, and trying to just fit in food.
Hmm.
And coming home, she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do with all of my time. And it's that need to just take down the nervous system and relax, so that the body can restore. Our ancestors didn't run marathons. They ran sprints for the kill, and then they rested and they ate and they slept. So there's this mentality that we've gotten so far away from the natural process of the human body. And the healing is a huge part of it. You're not going to heal if you're stressing out physically, mentally, or spiritually.
No, and that's that's step one, is learning how to actually sit still. Before I can teach you movement, I have to first teach you how to be okay not moving and actually facing these sensations and feeling what's happening. Because going back to the start, so many of us are numb. We're trying to distract ourselves, avoid what we're feeling. We're trying to escape and suppress whatever it is. Just the art of being able to sit and be okay in our own skin without medication, without noise and distractions, the world that that will do for you. It's not going to fix and cure everything, but
Right.
it's a great step one, because if we can't do that, again, that's our foundation. What what are we building on top of in a healthy way?
Absolutely. So, Vinny, where can people find you?
Easiest way to find me is at my website. So www. Do people still say that? www. Is that still a thing?
Kinda.
Painacademy.net, or on any of my social channels, which if you just follow me at Pain Academy, so much simple information on there for you.
It is simple. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we just don't do it. And like I said before last week, I haven't been stretching enough and before the yoga. And it's just amazing within 1 week the difference in my body and how it's responding. And it's not even just the pain, it's my mental state, it's my whole posture and the way I present myself. So there's so much to that. And believe me, I will be, I follow you and I absolutely eat up everything that you produce and I love it. And send your clients my way for diet and nutrition. I'm happy to help them.
Yeah, you
Well,
got it. We'll do.
thank you, Vinny. And thanks everyone else for tuning in today. If you need my help with your health concerns, don't know where to start, feel free to reach out to me at SaraBantaHealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you and join my free group coaching on Telegram. There is no downside. I share daily tips and tools to improve your health and answer your questions. You'll be surrounded by a community of people who are on a similar path, and it's very encouraging. It helps with that dopamine. There's more information available on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. Of course, don't forget to follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products. And you can catch this podcast on over 100 platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Just search Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm on a mission to share my healing message with everyone who's ready to listen. So help me with that goal. Share this podcast with some friends who might benefit. Remember, I'm live every Monday and Tuesday, a bonus one on Thursdays, and you can visit the website and use coupon WELCOME10 to get 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here and have a great week.